Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Over to the compounder.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening to one and all. On behalf of International School for Sri Shankaracharya Studies, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all dignitaries, guests, and delegates presented here for the Sri Shankara Study Circle. We hope you will find the program to be fruitful and engaging. I'm sure it is going to be a great hours of interaction and learning for all of us. Well, let me invite Professor Srikala M. Nair, Direct International School for Sri Shankaracharya Studies, for the welcome address.
Thank you, Anu. श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयम् नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं
This call is now being recorded.
लोकशङ्करम् विदिताखिलशास्त्र सुधा जलधे महितोपनिषत् कथितार्धनिधि हृदये कलये विमलं चरणं भव शङ्कर देशिक मे शरणं भव शङ्कर देशिक मे शरणं भव शङ्कर देशिक मे शरणम्. Good afternoon to all. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to this monthly study circle named Sri Shankara Study Circle, organized by the International School for Sri Shankara Studies. Last month, Professor Sachidanand Mishra read for us the third sutra, Shastra Yonitvad, with Shankara Bhashya. I remember extensive discussions have taken place on whether the alternative readings permitted by Acharya can be accepted, a discussion initiated by Professor Arindam that eventually led to the recognition of the loopholes in the very connotation of Sutra. Alpaksharam, Asandigdham, and Vishadomukha. How can we have the Asandigdhada and the Vishadomukha together in the definition of Sutra? It was a beautiful discussion. I still remember, I'm sure all of you would have enjoyed. Friends, in continuation, we are today taking up the fourth Sutra, Tattu Samanvayad, with this difference that this evening we are going to have a Dvaita reading of the text. As you all know, here the Sutrakara extends the argument from the third to the fourth that Brahman is the sum and substance of all the scriptures. The argument that is getting extended from the third to the fourth. Now, while Shankara takes a elaborate discussion on this sutra in his Bhashya, in fact, trying to establish the very foundation of Advaita Vedanta through his interpretation of this sutra, Madhva is very, very brief. He just cites the Shadlingas used for Tatparya Nirnaya of a text, referred in the Brihat Samhita, as all of you know, Upakramo Upasamharo va Abhyasa Purvada Bhalam Ardhavado Bhavati cha Lingam Tatparya Nirnaye. So he argues that using these tools, one can determine that Brahman alone is the Tatparya of the scriptures. Now, to strengthen his arguments, he also quotes the scriptural statements, like, he quotes various scriptures wherein he says the texts which say that my worship is your esteemed duty, and also the text which says Indra and all other names are nothing but my own appellations, and also when it is said all prescriptive and prohibitive texts point towards me. All these scriptural texts have been cited, and I also wish to cite the Gita shloka in Rajavidya Rajaguhya Yoga, the 9th chapter, wherein it is said, Vidahavasya Jagato Mata Dhata Pitamaha Vedyam Pavitram Onkara Rig Sama Ejurevacha. So Aham has been shifted to the third and the fourth pada. Aham Pavitram Onkaraha Vedyam and Ahameva Rig Sama Ejuhucha. So this kind of scriptural assertions are being cited by the Dvaita scholars, profusely citing from Shruti and as well as Puranas. You all know that Dvaita scholars particularly, they cite lavishly from Puranas and the Shrimati literature, particularly texts like Bhagavata. They try to establish that Brahman alone is the Tatparya of the scripture. We have an eminent Dvaita scholar, Professor Srinivasa Varkhedi, with us to read the text, the sutra, and its Dvaita interpretation. Professor Varkhedi knows no introduction, particularly from a person like me. When I met him years before, he was a professor. Then subsequently, he became a vice chancellor of Kalidas Samman University in Maharashtra, and now he has been elevated to the vice chancellor post of the esteemed Central University at New Delhi. In fact, he is a private pride of the whole of the South Indians, Dakshinatyaha. And we are happy that the South Indian scholarship, the flag of the South Indian scholarship, fly high in the Red Fort. Do I sound divisive? I don't mean that, but nevertheless, it is all out of the happiness and the pride that makes me say thus. I hope I wasn't bothering him. I realized that he is, in the shifting mood, and then probably a scholarly exercise like this would have bothered him. And I also learned that he was traveling, but nevertheless, he was extremely kind to agree to this scholarly exercise. And I'm sure with the blessings of Bhagavan Madhva, he'll be able to do justice to both the Vidvatva and the Nripatva. They are on the two sides. And academic administration, you all know, it's a different kind of exercise altogether. And we are all extremely happy that a scholar like Professor Varkhedi is at the helm of the affairs to give leadership to an important institution like Central University of Sanskrit. Professor Bhatt is the person who would have chaired this session, an amazing scholar. I don't know. Recently, he has sent me his work on Tantra Yukti, and I was telling my scholars that you should learn from him the dynamism, the energy, and the commitment to the discipline is something marvelous. And I feel honored to have lived with, have known with, have heard, and have traveled, and have had scholarly exercises with such great and eminent professors like Professor S.R. Bhatt. I extend a very warm welcome to both Professor Varkhedi and Professor S.R. Bhatt to this session of text reading. And we also have eminent professors with us like Professor Sachidanand Mishra, Professor Lakshmikant Pathi, and several others whom I might have, I got to know them, that they are here because we were running a conversation as Professor Varkhedi was joining us. I'm sure there are several others who have joined us. On behalf of International School of Sri Shankaracharya Studies, I'm extremely glad that you all have joined us. This is, a purely scholarly exercise, and I must tell you that of all the academic activities that the university and the school is undertaking, I deem it most important and most essential. This is a Guru Runa that we owe to our preceptors, and I'm glad that Acharya Shankara has permitted me to undertake this very, very significant task. And once again, on behalf of the school, I extend a very warm welcome to all of you. And then invite Professor Esab Head, the chairman, to speak a few words before we invite Professor Varkhedi to read the text for us. Over to Professor Bhatt.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Shrikala. I deem it a pleasure, a privilege, and feel pride in participating in this webinar, wherein a doyen of Indologists, an erudite scholar, and a versatile genius, Professor Srinivas Varkhedi, is to speak on Tattu Samanvayat. In fact, the first four sutras of Vedanta Sutra, known as Chatussutri, constitute the foundation of the entire Vedic Vedantic thought. And among the first four sutras, there is a logical continuity that needs to be highlighted. The succession among these four is something which is noteworthy. The Pratigya Sutra of the Brahma Sutra is Athato Brahma Jigyasa. And therefore, that is not only the starting point, but also the culmination of the Vedantic thought. This Chatussutri, and in fact the entire corpus of Vedanta Sutra has been interpreted differently by different acharyas, though there is common thread also underlying, but there are some vital differences. As the Rigvedic Rishi long back said, Ekam sati praha bahuda vadanti, bahuda kalpayanti, bahuda vadanti. And therefore there can be varied approaches based on one's own intuitive realization to understand and expound the Vedanta Sutras. As I said, the Pratigya Vak Sutra is to know about Brahman, which is the ultimate reality. And in order to know Brahman, both its nature and its status as reality, as some sort of, can say, argumentation, some sort of justification has to be provided to convince us that Brahman is the ultimate reality of a particular nature. And for that, among the various, you can say, averments in the Shastras, in the Upanishads, the most significant is Janmadhyasya Yataha. Yato va imani bhutani jayante, etc., etc. Tajjalana. This is the cryptic statement of the Chandogya Upanishad. And this justification for the quest after Brahman and realization of Brahman to have the Brahma Bhava within us, well, we have to depend upon the Shastra. And therefore, one of the interpretations of this justification is Shastra Yonitvat. Of course, Shankaracharya has his own understanding. He has given two different variant expositions of Shastra Yonitvat. Other thinkers also have given their own say viewpoints. This Shastra Yonitvat succeeds Tattu Samanvayat. This Tattu Samanvayat has two objectives. One is to reconcile variant Shastric injunctions and thereby establish the ultimate reality of Brahman as something which is Satchitananda Rupa. This sort of understanding of Brahman is one of the objectives to expound the different Shruti materials. And the second objective is to provide a methodology. For me, this is more important. The methodology of understanding the variant Shastric injunctions. Of course, I shall be referring to Sri Bhashya of Ramanuja, because that was my doctoral work on Ramanuja. Long back in 1965, I wrote my thesis on Ramanuja's Vedanta, and I had the good fortune of studying under Mahamohopadhyay Dhaniram Shastri in Vrindavan. I was a research fellow there, and I studied Sri Bhashya, which he names as Sharirik Bhashya. He has brought out the edition wherein instead of Sri Bhashya, he uses the term Sharirik Bhashya. So he was my guru, under whom I studied Sri Bhashya. According to Ramanuja, and let me just go through the text. He says that tatra pratipadyate tattu samanvayat. This is his Siddhanta Paksha. Before that, he has discussed the Puru Pakshas of different varieties. I did not go into that for want of time. And he says that what is the nature of Brahman? And he says that anavadhika atishaya ananda swarupa. This is nature of Brahman. Ananda swarupa. And that's why subsequently we have a sutra under Anandadhikarana also. Anyway, the real is consciousness, and that consciousness has a bliss, Ananda, as its essence. So is this is what Kshatriya producer also pointed out. So he points out, he says that though Tattva refers to different, this is my understanding, Tattva refers to different variant Shastric injunctions. Of course, the most important is Yato Vaibani Bhutani Jayante. etc. But we have various other accounts also of Brahma, Satchidananda Brahma, Satyam Jnanam, Anantam Brahma, and we have Tattvamasi, we have Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahma, and so on and so forth. So different statements are there. And all these need not confuse us. They are not contradictory. They are complementary. And therefore, that refers to those variant Shastric injunctions to means verily, in fact. They are to be understood with the help of the methodology of Samanvaya. In fact, this methodology of Samanvaya has been the keynote of Indian culture, very guiding principle, overriding principle of Indian culture. Always our thinkers have taught us, our rishis have taught us that things are to be understood in the spirit of coordination, samanvaya. Ramanuja defines samanvaya as a samyak anvaya, purusharthataya anvaya iti artha. It is samyak anvaya, proper coordinating enterprise. Coordination, not conflict. And it is to be understood by Purusha. Therefore, it is a Purushartha Taya. It is a matter of a Purushartha. It is a human enterprise. But which human? One who is a Purusha. And by Purusha we mean a person who has a ratiocinative, judicious discrimination, vivek buddhi, and through that we have to approach the Shastra. So, Ramanuja says that through Purushartha we undertake Samanvaya, and this Samanvaya results in Parama Purushartha Bhutasya Anavadhik Atishaya Ananda Swarupasya Brahmano Abhideyataya Anvayat Tat Shastra Pramanakatvam Siddhyati Eva iti Artha. So this is how we understand the gist of Tattu Samanvayat. The nature of Brahman is, as expounded by Ramanuja, is Nirasta Nikhila Dosha Atishaya Ananda Swarupataya Param Prapyam Brahma Bodhayan Vedanta Vakya Ganaha Pravritti Nivritti Vartau Ihat Pariyojana Paryavasati iti. So this is the purpose. This is the ultimate purpose of human enterprise, to reject all evil qualities in the ultimate reality and to propound all auspicious qualities. And therefore, the first objective is to know about the nature of Brahman, and we know it through Shastras. Shastra is, of course, our what can be called as Iksha. Iksha, Tadekshata. This Iksha is, in fact, intuitive apprehension of the nature of reality as it is. So this is known as Iksha. And only after Iksha, as Vasan pointed out in his commentary on the first sutra of Gautama, he said, Anviksha follows Iksha. So we begin with the Iksha, and that Iksha gets codified in the Shastras. The Iksha, the Anubhuti, Parakshanubhuti gets codified in the Shastras. So, Shruti, or we can say Shastra. And to understand this Shastra, you must have a particular mindset. That particular mindset is technically known as Samanadhikaranya. Ramanuja heavily draws upon this grammatical principle of Samanadhikaranya. I understand it like this. Vibhinna pravritti nimittanam शब्दानां वाक्यानां वा एकस्मिन् अर्थे संप्रयोगः समाहारश्च. This is my understanding. I might be wrong. The Sanskrit scholars may correct me, but this is what I mean, and I understand by this principle of coordination, the samana adhikarana. Vivinna pravritti nimittanam shabdanam vakyanam. It is just like, to use Western terminology, they may have different senses, but the referent is the same. I refer to Frege, the Western thinkers, this morning star, evening star position that is expounded there. So, Vivinna pravritti nimittanam. There can be different, I can say, prayojanas. There can be different standpoints. And those standpoints, that means perspectives. This is perspectival approach. There can be different perspectives, and those perspectives give rise to some utterances which may be in the form of a shabda or a vakya, and but they all refer, kasmin arthe, they refer to the one and the same referent. Senses are different, meanings are different, but the referent is the same. So, samanadhikarana. Adhikarana is the samana, the same adhikarana, and therefore prayogas might be different, but those prayogas need to be reconciled. Some prayoga should be there, and in our tradition we had, vade jayate tattva bodha. So we always talked of vada or samvada and never vivada, and therefore it should be some prayoga. The some prefix is highly significant, and then they must culminate in the same meaning, samaharascha. So this is how Ramanuja has interpreted and understood tattu samanvayata. I give you, well, there are many, my book on Ramanuj, Studies in Ramanuj Vedanta, which was published in 1970. Of course, now it is out of date. Therein I have given different usages of this methodology of Samanadhikarana by Ramanuja. One example I give, because that example has controversy with the Madhva. This is Tattvam Asi. I think the Madhva viewpoint Professor Varkedi will refer to is a Tattvam Asi. But Ramanuj says it Tattvam Asi, and Tat has one meaning, Tvam has another meaning. There are two different words, and we use them with the Vibhinna pravritti because of different pravrittis, but they refer to the same ultimate reality, namely Brahman. So Ramanuja uses principle or methodology of Samanadikaranya to reconcile statements of Sagunashruti and Nirgunashruti, reconciles that the ultimate reality is Ishvara, and that Ishvara has Chitra and Achitra as its aspects, and he tries to reconcile. So the word Sharirika with Dharinam Shastri is used for Sri Bhashya. Of course, this is used generally for the Bhashya of Adi Shankaracharya, but he uses it. It is Sharirak, means it's like an organic whole in which there are multiple parts. All parts have their own respective loci, they have their respective roles, but all are coordinated in the synthetic unity of the whole. So, diversity in unity, embedded in unity. Well, this is what Ramanuja has insisted on. Of course, I think I would not go into detail. This, on some other occasion, I shall be doing that. But let us hear Professor Srinivas Varkedi from the Madhva point of view. We had different points of view, different perspectives, and Professor Varkedi, who has been an erudite scholar, not only a good administrator, because he has been vice chancellor of many universities, and now a prestigious university, Central Sanskrit University, which has 10 campuses in different parts of our country. And they are as good as 10 Vidyapeethas. So let us, I think, invite Professor Srinivas Varkedi and be benefited and expertise. Professor Srinivas Varkedi, please. Please invite Professor Varkedi.
So, Namaskaram. I think I'm audible.
Please loudly. Speak loudly.
Yes. व्यासाय भवनाशाय श्री गुणराशे हृद्याय शुद्ध विद्याय मध्वाय च नमो नमः. आपादमूलिपर्यन्तं गुरूणाम् आकृतिं स्मरेत् यत्क्षणाः प्रणश्यन्ति सिद्ध्यन्ति च मनोरथाः. Respected Professor Bhatt sir, Professor Srikala Nair, Director of Sri Shankara Studies of Vedanta, and the scholars, learned research scholars, professors, and friends assembled here. Professor Bhatt has painted a big canvas, and I am putting a dot there. Of course, it is a good introduction, a scholarly introduction. That my burden is less. I'm thankful to Professor Bhatt for his scholarly giving. And this is a very great challenge by my elderly scholar and Professor Srikala Nair. So, after being administrator, such invitations are really challenging, and I do not want to miss such challenges. Nowadays, administrator is an easy job in getting tested in front of the scholar is really a fascinating invitation for me. Somehow I accepted, and then I postponed for a few days because of this new assignment and engagement and sudden development. But I did not want to miss this for two reasons. That Angikritam Sukritinah Paripalayanti is one reason. And the second reason is, if at all my uh, uh, my learning of the past is tested, that's good for me, because I can again see that gap in any opportunity, such opportunities. So thanks to Professor Srikala for creating this opportunity to be in front of you and present something in front of you. This is really challenging, because I just gathered my collected all memories, and then I wanted to place some of my thanks to my friend Dr. Srimas Acharya, who provided the relevant texts for me, because I'm very much away in Delhi, that too sitting in a very cold place, and I cannot get anything except tea and coffee. So thanks to him. And anyway, let me begin with this the statement made by Professor Bhatt. It's very interesting that uh, the Brahma Sutras form constitute a very important um, basis for the Vedantic tradition, more so in Madhva tradition. Please note this, more so in Madhva tradition. Why? Because Shruti is considered to be highest pramana in Advaita Vedanta. Of course, Shruti is highest. It has got highest place. But in order to, without interpretation, without a proper interpretation, Shruti cannot convey its meaning. Therefore, Brahma Sutra is considered as, it has been given the utmost importance in Madhva school. That means Madhva says it is Sarva Shastrottamam Shastram. Why? Because without which you cannot conclude anything from Shruti. Shrutis are there. Shrutir Vibhinna, Smrtayascha Vinnaha, Naiko Madhuriyasya Vachah Pramanam. There are so many Shruti Vakyas which which definitely, if you read Shruti Vakyas, then you will be in confusion. You cannot conclude. Therefore, Shrutis, though they are the sadhanas, pramanas for any conclusion of Tattvartha, without the support of Brahma Sutras, Shruti alone cannot become pramana. Therefore, Madhva's argument is this. Therefore, so only when you apply the Nyayas revealed by Brahma Sutra, you can interpret and come to a conclusion through Shrutis. The Shrutis are pramanas. They become pramanas only when you apply Nyayas of Brahma Sutra. Therefore, Brahma Sutra is very important. It is like this. Sometimes, you have very good axis which you can cut. But without hand, it won't be useful for you. You may have very nice knife, but that knife will cut only when it has good hands, right? Good supporting system. So, as we know that certain sadhanas, instruments, will lead to the results and they function properly only with certain, proper support. That support is Brahma Sutra. So Brahma Sutras enjoy very great important place in Madhva's tradition. So this is called Sutra Prasthana or Nyaya Prasthana. Shruti Prasthana and Sutra Prasthana. Sutra Prasthana is Nyaya Prasthana basically. Therefore, if you just if you can interpret in modern ways, Madhva is highly logical and he is very much he is not very much orthodox. He is more uh, he's all his interpretations are based on logic. So for he is dependent on nyayas. So if you see Brahma Sutras, one important aspect of Brahma Sutras we should understand. So I think I need not explain. I think Professor Shikalaji tell me that I did not go to the details of Brahma Sutras because everybody knows it. So I assume that everybody knows. But only one unique feature that is explained by Madhva is to be noted here. Very much important. If you go to Brahma Sutras, there are 4 adhyayas. Everyone knows. There are sutras. And sutras are interpreted, and those sutras are not, they are not given with numbers actually. So it is very continued sentence. So one sentence, you can consider this one sentence cut into four pieces. Okay. Again, if you want, you can cut anywhere. You can cut them and you can delimit with some meaning and you can give the interpretation. There are one is adhyaya, then pada, then you can make them piece into the sections, adhikarana. That means in one adhikarana, you will find 1 to many sutras, sometimes 1, sometimes 2, sometimes 10. Both the acharyas, including Shankara and Ramanuja, they followed one method. What is that method? They have taken certain sutras as Purvapaksha sutras. And then 1 or 2 sutras at the end of adhikarana, they are considered to be the concluding sutras. That means Nirnayaka sutras. That means you can, in a section, if you find 4 sutras, then among them maybe 2 or 3 maybe Purvapaksha sutras which propose the Purvapaksha. Then 1 sutra or 2 sutra maybe, depending upon it. It's not, there's no, if you go to the Shankara Bhashya, you will understand. So 1 or 2 may be conclusive sutras, Nirnayaka sutras. So in this way, you will find Purvapaksha Sutra and Nirnayaka Sutra in Shankara's arrangement of Brahma Sutras, even in Ramanuja's arrangement Sutra and many others. But what I have found, academically this is interesting for you, only one Acharya who followed a different path. He invented a different path because only 365 sutras are there. Why they have to propose Purvapaksha? And because if you count Shankara's Bhashya, half of them are Purvapaksha sutras. Sometimes more than you may consider that 60%, 70% are Purvapaksha sutras, and only 30% sutras are Siddhanta sutras. But according to Madhva, all sutras are Siddhanta sutras. There is no Purvapaksha sutra at all. All those sutras which are interpreted by Shankara as Purvapaksha sutras, they propose Purvapaksha, then Siddhanta is at the end. And Madhva, according to Madhva, every sutra is Siddhanta sutra, therefore the Purvapaksha is either proposed in the half of the sutra
Not audible.
there are some, but you can see that there is something like iti chenna. Then iti chet is Siddhanta Purvapaksha part. Up to that, it's a demarcation. There is a line. Iti chet. So if it is so, it is not so. Then no part is Siddhanta Sutra. So each and every sutra is Siddhanta Sutra. There is no Purvapaksha Sutra at all according to Madhva. This is unique interpretation method. And the second part is most of the times, the Shruti that is taken for discussion, Shruti sentence that is taken for discussion, sometimes only Madhva changes them. Madhva brings something else because normally he does not follow the same path. And the third very important aspect is
Not audible at all.
His connection is going in between.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Professor Valkedi, we can't hear you.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, am I audible now?
Yeah, now audible. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Sometimes this
Please
connectivity.
repeat the third one. Repeat the third one.
Yeah. I repeat. Madhva. Third one is this. That according to Madhva's interpretation, just missed this. Yes, Shruti after Shruti, and the third point is, Madhva says Madhva is very brief. He is very short in his writing, and nanyatha tadanupatehe. Then he quotes somehow one or two Purana Vakyas. Therefore, if you read Madhva Bhashya alone, we don't get anything. We really don't get anything. So that no.
You're getting stuck.
So I'm getting stuck. 1 minute. I use 1 minute. I'll use some other internet sometimes. 1 minute. Just a minute. I just change my. Yeah. Am I now audible?
Yeah, better. Hello? Are you getting stuck again? Hello? Hello?
In the guest house, that is fluctuating. It is fluctuating due to rains. Today it is heavy rains are going on here.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yes. Am I audible now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Audible, right?
Yeah.
Madhva is very brief. Therefore, we cannot understand Madhva just by reading Madhvas. So we need two things. One is we must go through Shankara first. The person who did not go through Shankara's Mahabhashya cannot understand Madhva Bhashya. The second point is because he keeps I at Shankara Bhashya, then he says only Nanyatha. So what's Anyatha? Anyatha is Shankara. Anyatha is Shankara's addition. Therefore, depending Shankara Bhashya, we do not get Madhva Bhashya. This is we need to keep in our mind. The third very, very important aspect is we need support. Commentaries on Madhva is very important. Jaitirtha, a famous commentator of Madhva, has written, actually Madhva on Brahma Sutra, Madhva has 4 works. Very brief one and elaborate one. Both are in the style of shlokas, Shloka Vartika style. But sir, there's a Shloka Vartika written by on Mimamsa. The same Shloka Vartika is written by Madhva on Brahma Sutras. It is called Anuvyakhyana. So it's very elaborate, and it has considered all aspects of Madhva, all commentaries on Brahma Sutra.
Why is it named as Shloka Vartika?
On every darshan. It is in fact like Shloka Vartika. It follows the method of Shloka Vartika. Secondly, the Anuvyakhyana is very small. Anubhashya is very small and brief in 100 stanzas. And Madhva Bhashya is very brief. It is a straight answer to Shankara. And another Nyaya Deepika, which is Nyaya Vivarana, which focuses on the logical aspect of Brahma Sutras. So, keeping all these in view, commentator Jaitirtha has elaborated Madhva Bhashya in detail. So now, therefore, cannot read. I can read Jaitirtha's commentary. I can read Madhya Bhashya only with Jaitirtha's commentary. Which is very, it is not very short. Now I straight away go to Madhya Bhashya's, So before doing that, before entering to that, I just start with Brahma Sutra, the sequence of logical sequence when one need to understand. Om Athato Brahma Jignasa is the first sutra where Brahma Jignasa is implicitly, mandated. It is mandated. So the one who wants to get mukti has to know Brahman, and he should do Brahma Jignasa. Jignasa means Brahma Vichara. So Vichara is important. Vichara means we cannot say that we just understand Brahman through Shruti. No. Manana is very important. To do Dhyanam, we should calm our mind. To calm our mind, we should eradicate all doubts. In order to eradicate all doubts, we need to do Vichara. So Vichara means Manana. Manana means Yuktya Anusandhanam. So using all our yuktis, anumanas, and all justification and reasons. By reasons, we should come to a conclusion, and that conclusion will help us to meditate on Brahman. Okay, Jignasa is not just meditation; it is manana with vichara. Now come to the second part. What is Brahman? Brahman is that it is defined. Definition is given. That definition is in first sutra itself. Brahman is defined as Guna-purna. Brahanto Shasmin Gunaha. The one who possesses all good without any blemish is considered to be Brahman. Brahma means Brahanto Shasmin Gunaha. Guna-purna. Guna-purnam Brahma. In order to justify this, second sutra says, Janmadhyasayatah asya purodrishyamanasya jagatah. The world is coming from this Brahman, therefore Brahman is Janma Jagat. Now, because he is full of all good qualities, without quality, without power, without knowledge, without intention, you cannot create world. Therefore, he must be a perfect person, empowered, with all empowerment, with intentions, good intentions. Therefore, he is creating. Okay. The third part, then what is pramana? Shastra Viditva. Shastra is pramana. Shastra Viditva Prama, Shastram Pramanam. But he is not Shastra. He is not. He may be Shastra Karana, but that is not intended here. Intention is this. He is conveyed by pramana, Shastra Pramana. What is Shastra? Shastra is Veda, Adi Shastra. Veda and and then fifth sutra is Ikshate Nashabdam. So very interestingly, according to Shankara, only these four sutras are very important, which gives the sound introduction and